There is something you were supposed to do today. You know exactly what it is. And yet here you are, doing almost anything else. Not because you forgot, not because you can't, but because some invisible force inside your brain keeps pulling you away from it. That force has a name, and once you understand it, you will never see yourself the same way again. Procrastination is not laziness. That is the first thing science wants you to know. It is not a character flaw. It is not a sign that you are broken or weak or undisciplined. It is a survival mechanism, one that made perfect sense for your ancestors, one that, in the wrong century, is quietly destroying your potential. Here is what is actually happening inside your skull. Your brain has two systems locked in a constant war. The first is the limbic system, ancient, emotional, immediate. It cares about one thing, how you feel right now. The second is the prefrontal cortex, newer, rational, forward-thinking. It cares about what happens next week, next year, next decade. Every time you procrastinate, the limbic system has just won a battle, and it wins far more often than you think. In 2007, psychologist Piers Steele published a landmark study that changed how researchers understand delay. His work, known as temporal motivation theory, revealed that your brain calculates the value of a task based on how far away the reward is. The further the reward, the less your brain cares about it right now. A project due in 3 weeks registers as nearly invisible. A pizza arriving in 20 minutes registers as urgent and real. Your brain is not irrational. It is just running very old software on a very modern problem. Think about what your ancestors actually needed to survive. Not long-term planning, not quarterly goals, not 5-year strategies. They needed to respond to what was in front of them: a predator, a food source, a threat from a rival group. The brain that delayed reacting to a lion because it was busy thinking about next season was not a brain that survived. Immediacy was the point. Immediacy kept your bloodline alive. You inherited that brain. Every single one of your ancestors was wired to prioritize the present, and you are their direct descendant sitting in front of a deadline wondering why your mind keeps drifting towards something easier. But there is a second layer to this, one that most people never hear about. Procrastination is not just about avoiding hard work. Research from psychologist Timothy Psylain at Carleton University has shown that what you are actually avoiding is an emotion: boredom, anxiety, self-doubt, frustration. The task on your to-do list is not the enemy. The feeling that task creates inside you is the enemy, and your brain, being the extraordinary escape artist it is, will find any distraction available to make that feeling go away. This is why you can spend 3 hours doing things that are harder and more exhausting than the task you were avoiding. You cleaned the entire kitchen, you reorganized a drawer, you watched 4 videos about a topic you barely care about. Your brain did not want rest, it wanted relief. Those are completely different things. And it found relief in anything that did not produce the emotional discomfort tied to that one task. Neuroscientist Judson Brewer, who studies habit loops and craving at Brown University, found that the act of procrastinating activates the same reward circuitry as other avoidance behaviors. Your brain gets a small hit of relief the moment you look away from the difficult thing. That relief feels good, and your brain, being a learning machine, notes this. Avoid the task, feel better. Do it again tomorrow. The pattern deepens, the habit calcifies, and what started as a single avoided afternoon becomes a life spent circling the edges of your own potential. Now, here is the counterintuitive twist. The people who procrastinate the most are often not the laziest people in the room. Studies suggest they tend to be higher in sensitivity, perfectionism, and emotional awareness. They feel the weight of a task more acutely. They care more about doing it right. And that caring, ironically, is what makes starting so painful. If you did not care about the outcome, beginning would be easy. It is the caring that freezes you. In a study published in the journal Psychological Science, researchers found that self-compassion, not self-criticism, was the most effective predictor of whether someone could break a procrastination cycle. People who forgave themselves for procrastinating were significantly more likely to stop doing it. The internal critic that screams, You are lazy, you are failing, you will never change is not motivating you. It is making the emotional cost of the task even higher. It is adding shame on top of anxiety. And a brain already looking for an exit will run faster with shame chasing it. What actually works is far simpler than any productivity system you have ever tried. Your brain resists tasks that feel large, vague, and emotionally loaded. It moves toward things that feel small, clear, and immediately rewarding. So the only real intervention is this: make the next action so small that your limbic system cannot object. Not write the report, write one sentence, not exercise for an hour, put on the shoes, not clean the whole house, pick up one object. The moment you begin, the emotional friction drops. Cycle calls this the task aversion reversal. Once you are inside the task, it rarely feels as bad as the anticipation suggested. The dread was always louder than the doing. Your brain is not fighting you, it is protecting you. Protecting you from discomfort, from failure, from the vulnerability of trying something that matters. It learned this strategy in a world where survival was immediate and stakes were physical. It does not yet understand that the most dangerous thing in your modern life is not starting. That the predator it needs to face is not outside you, it is the moment just before you begin. And on the other side of that moment is the version of you that ancient survival instincts were never built to imagine. Someone who chose the future over the feeling of right now. And let me remind you, there is still something you were supposed to do today. The question was never whether you could. The question was always whether you would let your oldest instincts decide for you. And the biggest irony about this video is I also procrastinated while making this video. And that's it for today's video. Human behavior is full of hidden patterns, biases, and fascinating psychological mechanisms that influence the way we think, feel, and act every day. On this channel, we'll break down these concepts in a simple and easy-to-understand way. If you're curious about human psychology and want to understand yourself and others better, make sure to stay tuned for future videos. And if you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing to the channel and turning on notifications so you don't miss the next one. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.